welcome to 2024, our first edition of Upfront REAL for the new year. I'm Karen Whitney, Director of Communications for Ohio Cooperative Living Magazine, and with me today is Pat O'Loughlin, our President and CEO. Welcome to the new year.
Hi, Karen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. You know, in the last year, we talked a lot about the reliability of electricity and the reliability of our electrical grid. And I always think of the new year as a time where you try to make things better and how you're going to fix something. And what is the U.S. going to do about fixing this issue of reliability and the grid? Largely, we've been told in part because we don't have enough availability of fossil fuel power generation. So how are we going to fix this? How is Ohio Electric Cooperatives going to contribute to solving this issue?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do our part. So it starts right here at home in Ohio. And the first thing is we need to invest and maintain in the existing infrastructure that we have, primarily our Cardinal Power Plant, but also our Moan and Greenville plants. Make sure that they're ready when they're called upon to serve the members that we have. So that means being ready for no matter what the weather, when it's freezing cold outside, when it's hot this summer, we need to have the investment made so that those plants are ready to go when they're needed most. And so that's thing one, is we're going to be ready for that. Second thing is we need to plan for the future. We need to look ahead and say, what are the investments that we're going to have to make down the road? Where's the money going to come from? What are the technologies that we're going to employ? How do we get ready for the future? Because we got to get through today, but you know, we've got a lot ahead of us too. And it's a long-term planning process. Things don't happen in weeks or months. It usually takes years, even decades, to get new resources in place. So we need to plan for the future. So the third thing is we need to talk with our policymakers, our elected officials, people in charge of policy, to make sure they understand the challenges that we face, the solutions that we can do in the short term, the things that we can do in the long term, and to make sure we get that right. We can't try to fast forward to the future. We got to get through today. We got to recognize these things take time, and we got to work with our policymakers and elected officials to give us the time for new technologies to come into place to get to the place that we want to get to in the long run, which is reliable, affordable electricity that meets the needs of our members. And then the last thing is we need to invest in the people that we have here. Workforce development is so important. It goes across the board. We have a wonderful lineman training program to make sure people can keep your lights on here locally. And then we also need to invest in the future leaders as we're going through this generational change in our structure of our co-ops and the management. We need to have people that are ready to take the next step. So people development is very much in our mind this year.
In talking about, solving this, it does take years to come up with new technologies and new ways to generate electricity. I mean, it took so many years to invent it in the first place. What are you most hopeful about as far as technology goes for solving this challenge that we have in front of us?
Well, the number one thing is I think we've done a good job of putting the spotlight on the need to bring in new technologies. And then we also need to make sure we recognize the amount of time it's going to take to not only to invent these things, to demonstrate them, but also to make them commercially available. And it takes time. But there are a lot of resources being put towards new technology development in the energy space and specifically in electricity generation. And so I'm pretty sure that's going to bear fruit. I don't know exactly what that's going to be, but in the meantime, we've got a good base load of thermal generation assets. We have an abundant supply of natural gas. I think nuclear has a very bright future. And then there's a lot of effort going into energy storage that will make wind and solar more valuable to the grid going forward. So I think the combination of all those things makes me optimistic that we will find a path forward. A lot of it depends on time and money to get us there.
And I want to build on that because for a lot of years we thought, wind, solar, that was the answer, the renewables, and perhaps just alone renewables. But it seems more and more it is what you've talked about. It's that all of the above approach.
Well, I think many of us have known that for a long time. Wind and solar are great. They're supplemental right now to the thermal resources that we have that really are the backbone of our electric system today and probably will be for the next several years. If we can develop longer-term energy storage systems, batteries or other energy storage, then that will make wind and solar more valuable. But we're still going to need that backbone, whether that is thermal generation from natural gas or coal, whether that's nuclear. We're going to need something like that we can depend on day in and day out, that we can turn on turn off, turn up, turn down to meet the needs that we have for electricity in our country.
Good way of explaining it, I think, to people. And I always like to ask this one, it's always such a time of renewal. What are you most excited about in 2024 for Ohio's electric cooperatives?
Well, I think the thing that I look forward to the most every day when I come to work is working with the great people that we have across our cooperative network, their commitment to service, their commitment to their members, their commitment to making safe, reliable, affordable electricity available every day. And it's a lot of fun, and it's something that I'm looking forward to. We're getting new people in place all the time. We're refreshing the tree of people that we work with, but we get a lot of great people, and we have a lot of fun doing what we do.
We do. All right. We get to do this, right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for watching this episode of Upfront and Real, and Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year.